best thing happened to me when I forget to obey my Heavenly Father.
Oh, Vanity J, I absolutely love this tune, and so does Donna Ali. Shout out, this lady's amazing.
The Creator called me. To me, the best thing that ever happened to me for my born is when I answer that call. The Bible says the first thing you must do, repent.
I have seen many things, but nothing quite compares to the love that you bring. When I fall, strength and guidance through it all. Oh love, how you change me when you lift me up so high. I can feel you now. What it is to love, what it is to know the feeling of, what it is to feel. Guide me through the dark, you control my heart. God knows I am only human, far from perfect but I'm willing. My heart has only good intentions. Take me to the river, yeah.
I dreamt that the Lord called me to do it.
How good is this song? Oh my gosh.
River now. Take me there and show me how. My head is high, my feet are firmly on the ground. My eyes are closed, but I can still see all around me. I'm headed for my destiny. How your love embraces me. I feel I am no longer searching for me. And I just can't believe what it is to love, what it is to know the feeling of, what it is to feel. Guide me through the dark, you control my heart. Heaven knows I'm only human, far from perfect but I'm willing. My heart has only good intentions. Take me to the river, yeah.
When he said, let us make man in our image of their likeness. It made me understand what it is to love someone so much and you want the best for them and want them to inherit all of God's blessings. It made me understand really who God is. I bet you're gonna turn, well, God protected me through all of it. It is a joy to walk upright. Moving forward, I surrender my life.
That is the incredible Vanity J. She's part of the Tancred group. Shout out to them. They got this new album. Give her a follow. She is absolutely incredible. What a voice. I get the chills, and it's such an amazing song. I was getting very excited here in the studio, and I'm going to welcome my next guest now, who have got this new campaign to get more people involved in film, which I think is a brilliant, absolutely fantastic and very needed campaign here in Valleywood, which is what South Wales is now called, because there's so much going on with everything happening around. So welcome, Dave.
Thank you very much for having us.
Tell us all about your new campaign.
Well, I guess there's a lot of projects out there which are about trying to get people into production. This is very much focused on trying to get people into behind the scenes roles. So things that people might not have thought about before, such as driving, whether it's working in wardrobe, tailoring, seamstressing.
Yeah.
I've said catering. All those kind of roles that gets forgotten about.
Yeah.
Carpentry, scene shifting.
Sparkies.
Rigging. Things that you don't need necessarily a qualification in film.
Yeah. Because people probably think, oh, I need to go to uni and do a film degree, or they might think of the obvious roles like directing or producing, and acting, being in front of the camera. But they don't often think about everything that's involved into creating the magic, basically.
No, and those roles you mentioned are very much tip of the iceberg. But you've
Yeah.
got huge numbers, literally armies of people kind of servicing the industry, and the industry needs you at this point. There's so much going on in Wales, and there's so much work available. If you can just see how your skills can transfer. Into this.
So let's get into it. So you've done some research as well, didn't you, to find out all about it, and that's obviously part of how you've decided to take the campaign. Tell me the name of the campaign. It's Change
Your Focus.
Change Your Focus.
And obviously it's based on some research. So Russ, who's here with me today, they kind of led on the research, and we've kind of put that into kind of a forward-facing campaign, public-facing campaign.
Yeah, do you want me to tell me a little bit about the research, Russell? Welcome. Thank you for coming in.
No, thank you for having me.
If you talk directly in the mic, 'cause it's a bit quiet, but tell us about the little bit of research that you did and what you found out, because that'd be interesting.
Yeah, so we at Stryon Research, we were appointed by the Communities for Work Plus employability programme in
Okay,
RCT,
yeah, I
of the
know
kind
that
of
one,
staff and the
yeah.
arts service up there in RCT, with a view to just sort of knowing more about how the TV and film sector works.
Yeah.
They advise a lot of people into work, or at least closer to the labour market. And although they've got very good links there, CFW Plus as a programme across Wales, with things like rail, social care, childcare, where there's always lots of vacancies, they didn't know so much about TV and film. So we spent a lot of time engaging both with their advisors on the programme, but also people in the industry to find out a little bit more about how people can find out about vacancies, about opportunities, placements, apprenticeships, you name it. And, there's over 35,000 people employed in Wales in TV and film.
Wow, 35,000.
35,000. Over half of the businesses trading in the sector across Wales are located in South East Wales. So, that corner of Wales we're in at the minute.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, and there's a lot of opportunities available, and as you've alluded to already, those aren't necessarily in front of the camera. And I think one of the things, to be fair to the advisors on the programme, when we were engaging with them and spending time with them in order to inform the campaign, who it might reach, what are the sort of things, the messaging that would be helpful in reaching these individuals who are looking for work and wanting maybe a change of career as well after the pandemic, perhaps. They were very honest as advisors, saying, look, we don't know a huge amount about it. And there are opportunities. But I think one of the things that came through as one of the key findings is that these aren't adverts that appear in the job centre. They don't appear in the newspaper necessarily. Having networks of other people involved in the sector tends to be a prime opportunity. Word of mouth is another one. And of course, maybe people who are traditionally looking for work in somewhere like RCT don't necessarily have those networks. They don't necessarily have the opportunity to access or hear that word of mouth.
Yeah.
So what we're saying to the advisors is, how can you support some of those job seekers to have access to those sorts of opportunities?
Yeah, I think you are a big dot now, joining it all together. You know what I mean? Because I've seen Screen Alliance Wales a lot, and they're really trying, and they go into schools and they go into communities, and they put their jobs out and everything. But yeah, a lot of people that I say to, oh, have you looked on Screen Alliance Wales vacancies? They go, what?
Yeah.
They don't know about it. So you're kind of like connecting the dot between like third sector in a way, and which is hallelujah to you guys, because that needed to happen. But it's kind of similar to what so this project started from the third sector as well. So it's really good to connect these dots together.
Yeah, and there's a lot of private, organisations, companies involved in the sector, but there's also a lot of not-for-profit organisations who are working to kind of create better opportunities for people, or more opportunities, but at the same time working in the industry to try to change it as well, to maybe make it a little bit more well-being focused, maybe making it a little bit more accommodating then of the needs of people, say for example, who are neurodiverse.
Yes.
And at our launch last week we had Unquiet Media, who focus on people with neurodiversity. So it's a two-way street. It's not just
Isn't
about trying
everyone
to make
working in film neurodiverse?
That was one of the talking
That was
points,
probably
actually.
my assumption.
It was a talking point of last week, but Screen Alliance were there as well. Going
Okay.
into schools and things.
Yeah.
And I think a really important factor, because we've talked a bit about like sort of, you've talked about focusing on young people, but actually this is about mature people.
Yeah.
So it's very much about adults, and by adults we mean people right up to retirement and beyond.
Yeah, because there's so much knowledge and richness. Like we had a brief conversation on the phone. It's like as you get older, you realise your knowledge is, and your skills are a lot.
At the level that we're talking about, what employers are looking for are people who are enthusiastic, like to get stuck in, don't mind working as part of a team, and have good social skills, as well as the transferable skills. So those are all the really important things that they're looking for at that kind of behind the scenes level.
So say, for example, somebody's listening to this and they think, oh, I'd like to get involved with that kind of thing, or I think, oh, maybe I could do that, or it was a dream of mine, or I'm just at a stage in my life where I want to change. They could maybe get in touch with you and get advice. Like, how does it practically work?
So that's the campaign. We're trying to direct people towards the web page, the landing page, however you want to call it, and you'll find some very kind of basic advice there, but also resources and links of people that you can talk to about that.
Okay.
If you want to get involved. There are also 4 films which we've embedded there.
Yeah.
So 4 case studies, and I think a lot of people's queries about whether they're suitable for the industry or not
will be answered in that.
Well, they'll have a really good idea for very diverse, different people, different ages, different genders, giving their story really about how they got involved, atypical stories, if you like.
Yeah, and that is the Change Your Focus website.
That is Change Your Focus.
Yeah, okay, so www.changeyourfocus.org.
Got to get the org.
Not for profit.
No UK.org.
Just .org. Okay, yeah. Well, again, I have shared a little bit of a social media thing today on Unity in the Community, so they'll find it there as well. Or if you forget, you can get in touch with us. We're all on Instagram, or we have an email, unitycommunityradioshow@gmail.com. But yeah, so this sounds super exciting. So how long did you have to do the research for? Was it a long period of time before you could start? Or
so there was a lot of desk research done before Christmas, back in last year. And I think what was interesting and quite timely is that the sector itself, because of the pandemic, was itself wanting to take stock of where we're at. So figures like, number of employees, 1.7 billion turnover, 1.7 billion pound turnover.
Wow.
All of that was relatively contemporary and current, those figures. So that was very helpful for Ellie and I on the research. But it was also about engaging as well and going out and spending time, as I said, with people in the sector. Whether those are people who are on the commissioning side, we spoke to a company based down in Pencoed, facilities by ADF. Talking about how they have wagons and vehicles that the sector uses, the industry uses.
Yeah.
They need servicing, they need cleaning. So begin to identify and uncover quite how broad the range of roles of opportunities are.
If you're making a film, you're starting from scratch a lot of the time. You're creating something, you're creating a set, you're going on location. Like, it's so vast, the amount of people. Like, I'm sure we've all sat there and watched a film and thought, blimey, when you're watching the credits, how many people worked on this film,
Well, a lot of the productions that are going on at the moment in South Wales, 300 plus people working on a single production.
Yeah.
And there may be multiple productions going on the same site.
Yeah. So this is really exciting for Wales, isn't it?
Yeah, and it would be good to keep some of those jobs in, so we don't have, because sometimes
you don't have to bring people in from London.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that goes on just because of these skill shortages, and people. And there are short turnarounds on some of these jobs. So, for instance, caterers, they may not know until a few weeks before the production starts that they're going to be working, and then there's a mad scramble to try and find staff. So for them to have a database also of people that may have contacted them with CVs, that's a good starting point.
So, for example, say there's somebody out there and they're working in catering or hospitality, that's one way that they could get involved, and they could maybe apply to one of the film caterers, and then they could say, oh, I've got these skills, can I come? And then what I think always happens is one step leads to another, and then you'll be in the catering van, and then you'll be talking to someone else, and they'll say, oh, well, next project I'm doing, we're looking for a runner, or we're looking,
Yeah, there's a lot of that. People flip from department to department.
Yeah, so once you start meeting people and making those connections.
Yeah, and maybe you work on a production. Maybe you're lucky enough to get that first break.
Yeah.
Maybe that job isn't for you, but maybe you end up working in a different role. There's quite a lot of that. People who may start in one role and then jump to another.
So, yeah, exactly, because my brother works in film. Shout out to Ben. He's actually in Canada on a production, and he started out, he was an actor, but then he started out doing chaperoning. So that's another big part of filming where children need to be looked after. You've got to have safeguarding, you've got to have DBS, you've got to fit in with the laws around when children at certain ages can be on set and not on set, when they've got a tutor, all those things. You could be a tutor on a film set. I had a friend that did that.
Yeah, because those skills are eminently transferable, but you might not think of it like that.
Exactly, like that. You might not think, if you're a tutor, you might think, I've got to work in a college or a school, but actually, you could work on a film.
Yeah, absolutely. Loads of you think of a role, animal handlers, for instance.
Radio presenter,
yeah. Well, audio engineers are obviously really valuable on set.
Yeah. Sound is a big thing, yeah.
We uncovered, a huge range, and at some point we had to sort of draw a line. So
right.
Chaperone was mentioned in the launch of the campaign.
Yeah.
Up in Mountain Ash.
Because I've thought about doing that.
Well, yeah, and as I was sitting there thinking, I don't think we mentioned chaperone in the report, but like I said, we had to draw the line somewhere. But I think it's also, again, going back to the Communities for Work Plus program as an employability program, supporting people into work. It also has helped them understand that actually, yes, there's lots of transferable skills. There's lots of maybe sort of qualifications and certifications available, but not necessarily compulsory. But where you might have a candidate, a client, who is wanting to get into TV and film, and they may be short in maybe one or two areas, it allows them as a program, because it's always been very, very focused on people's individual circumstances and needs and aspirations, very focused on the individual. It can now work with them to help maybe get them over the line. So those last couple of hurdles.
That's so fantastic.
So that's been quite an important one. And I think as well, we've also recognised as heavily focused on the individual as the program is, there are also some community, maybe kind of forms of collective responses to some of these issues that help address labour shortages and skill shortages around, worker cooperatives, community transport. So where maybe a set requires somebody to be, or a film production requires somebody to be on set at 7 o'clock in the morning, well, okay, the trains, public transport, not great.
Yeah.
Particularly now at the moment as well, even more so, particularly in the valleys, because of the investment into the metro, where there's lines not even open, or only buses available, etc. Where actually are there community transport solutions that can maybe get several people on set at the required time?
That's great, because you're going to be connecting it with. So, are you part of Communities for Work?
So, my background is community work. I remember the programme starting out of the old Communities First programme. So, people may be listening to this in Cardiff, in like St Mellons, Grangetown, Trowbridge, Caira, Ely. Communities First was a programme that wound up in 2018. I spent many years working on that. And so communities, it's in the title of the programme. Yeah. Communities for Work. It's part of the DNA, but there is potentially the focus to be a bit more community focused with some of the responses, some of the solutions. But that was more of a peripheral, I suppose, angle that we wanted to take. We're not there to change the DNA of the programme of C4W, because it's focused on the individual and their circumstances and their needs and aspirations, as I say.
Okay.
But it doesn't need to be solely and exclusively focused on those. So again, there's a few suggestions in the report about what some of those might be. And of course, things like cooperatives is one response to precariousness in work. You know, and Dave can probably speak for himself in terms of working in the sector. and
Yeah,
maybe
because
your brother.
yeah,
quite precarious
it's
as
very
well.
precarious because it's like you have to get that next job all the time. So it is like that self-employment thing. Like, am I going to get that next job? You know, so it would be good, like, if there was some kind of solution to that. But then I guess if you join an agent of some kind, or how does it work? Like,
Well, I think most people, once they get in, they go from job to job. That's the
Yeah.
reality of it. But they have to be mobile. But it suits some people. It
Yeah.
suits some people that they that's how people want to work. They're like, you may be working in Llanharan, the studios in Llanharan, in Dragon Studios, for 6 months. You have a month off. But then someone rings you and you've got a job in Lanzarote. Because that's kind of the
oh,
the-
you mean it can open up doors all around the world?
Well, it does, as we were just talking about. I think your brother's working in Canada.
Yeah. Oh, he's worked everywhere. Yeah, but I guess my brain hadn't gone quite there, thinking, oh, someone here could get in with your program, you know, start working on film, and then the next minute they know they've been asked to do a production, you know, in Berlin or, you know, New York
You
or
take
wherever.
an example. You could take a hypothetical example of, say, a woman or a man in their maybe mid-50s who become
Yeah.
a driver, and they get on really well with the stars that they transporting around.
Yeah.
Actually, it may end up those stars are working on another production, and they personally request that person.
Yeah,
works.
so
that does happen. you
Yeah,
know?
that's where the social skills are so important, isn't it? Like being able to converse and, you know.
And know when to be quiet
And
as
know when
well.
to be quiet, exactly.
Oh, yes, that one. Because I used to run a music studio. Yeah, you had to, it's a very fine line between kind of being very friendly, but also, you know, maintaining the professional boundary.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that I think we're really good at in South Wales is being friendly.
Of
And do you
course,
know what?
yeah.
That's a huge skill.
The whole of Wales is like that.
Yeah, and that's why people like coming to film here, I think.
Yeah, it's different. It's a different vibe.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, it's not like the Pinewood, London, Shepperton vibes, is it?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a bit more, you know, relaxed in a
for
way.
for some facilities companies, like you look at a caterer, for instance, so the caterers may be working on film sets, but they're also doing festivals. So the work tends to kind of be quite circular. So they
Yeah.
may only have 6 months on a film, but maybe they got 3 months doing festivals around
Oh,
the
yeah, because then
country.
the festival scene starts
Or
summer.
weddings, or or corporates.
Mm.
So, and for those sorts of jobs, sometimes there are full-time contracts available.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, wow, it sounds super exciting. And I think it's something that really benefits Wales, the film industry. Were you saying the money, it was 1.7 billion or something?
Turnover of £1.7 billion, and that's probably actually slightly lower than it was before the pandemic, because there has been an impact. But it's a very resilient sector as well. That's what the data and the research is suggesting, that a lot of businesses have survived through the pandemic, and they're forecasting continued profitability, continuing to work. And some of these are long-standing businesses as well, so they maybe have seen through the financial crash of the late 2000s as well. So there is a degree of resilience in the sector as well. And I think if people do have perhaps a precarious a sort of work experience or employment history, or they're worried about taking that leap, then I think there's some messages within the report that suggests that actually it's perhaps not the leap of faith that some people might fear. But we're very, we haven't looked to sugarcoat it either. Where we've identified some things that the sector is addressing. So, for example, a focus on well-being, because there's a feel that it needs to. Then there's that in there as well, and that might be an issue for some people.
Yeah.
This isn't a PR exercise for the sector. It's very much a piece of research. It's independent of the sector and of the industry. But yeah, and it's putting it out there, sort of warts and all, I suppose. And when people can make their own, they read it and take on board, what they want. But certainly the campaign is there. We've pushed it out the nest last week in the launch in Mountain Ash, as I say. The landing page is there. The films are terrific. Real good insight into people who are doing maybe what aren't the obvious roles in the sector, in the industry that people perhaps think of.
I'm so happy that you've come on the show, because I feel it's really important to be that bridge between people in and around Cardiff or South Wales who are looking for work. We're in a cost of living crisis. It's very well paid film work, like better than other work, I'd say, because it's a lucrative industry. I feel like, it's really good to connect our communities, be that bridge between them and the industry in a different kind of way, and also open it out to everybody. Like we said, not just young people, like anyone who's got those transferable skills, because there is so much going on here. There's so many productions. I see it all the time as well. And we'll come back. We're going to have to go to the news now, but we'll come back, and I'm sure we can talk more about it and more about the opportunities. So thank you so much. We'll be back after the news and ads, and we can talk more about maybe other jobs that we haven't mentioned, and any other advice that you guys have, and maybe what's next for your campaign and what you're hoping to fully achieve from it. That would be fantastic. So we'll be back after this. Thanks so much. You're listening to Jetty Grace, Unity in Our Community, Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Radio Cardiff.
See, I really did get tone. Did you get the telepathic text message that I sent to your phone? We both barely grown, but I know what I like. Say the word in a song. Can't get you out my head. The deepest shade of red. Sometimes the coolest blue, or a mix of the two. Your aura matched mine, so I had to choose you. My love kaleidoscope, come and let me change your view. I'm feeling your color. Come feel it, babe. Come feel it, babe. I'm feeling your color. Come feel it, babe. And it's next to mine. I'm feeling your color. I feel it, babe. I feel it, babe. I'm feeling your color. I feel it, babe. And it's next to mine. You always bring the sunshine. We be up to the sunrise. Prettiest color seen by my eyes. With a stroke of dedication, a little bit of patience, you'll see the bigger picture that we paint. And don't turn down your brightness. I love your saturation. Fill up your cup. Can we get a little faded? To be next to you is a moment I savor. I want this forever, so don't leave me hanging.
I ain't talking about ends, I ain't talking about skin, girl, I'm talking about us. I ain't talking about lust, girl, I'm talking about this.
I'm feeling